A friend of mine named Doug Shoup wrote a book called Pathway to Jesus. And in it, he lines out 5 key transitions that postmoderns need to make on their way into the kingdom. And it was really helpful for me, and it really helps me understand the Vineyard movement. The first transition he talks about is from distrust to trust. The second transition is from indifference to curiosity. The third transition is closed to personal change, to open to personal change. The fourth one is from meandering and wandering to intentional seeking and asking questions. And the fifth one is actually the transition into the kingdom. What's interesting is that we just tend to think of this as one big globule. But I think Doug's right. It's actually a much more nuanced, gradual process. Because we're relational in the Vineyard movement, we are really good at the first 3. Earning trust of people who have had their trust squashed. The signs and wonders and the stuff stimulates curiosity where there might be indifference. The willingness to ask somebody if you can pray for them after you've become their friend and are doing life with them. And I heard Ellie earlier today talking in a seminar about how people just kind of hang out with someone and seamlessly transition to saying, hey, can I just pray for you? And how ministry time isn't something magical. It's actually something relational and human. And that's awesome, and that's what the movement does magically. But what Doug often challenges young groups is that people who understand postmodernity are often very good at the first 3. And they're rubbish at the last 2. They're rubbish at the last 2 because the last 2 involve challenge. They involve asking the hard question. Involves uncomfortable moments. Now, when you really love somebody and you've earned the right, I think we should be more up for those moments. A good friend of mine once said, confrontation is discipleship. That there's something about discipleship that's not going to get done if we aren't willing to step into confrontation. And really, confrontation isn't the caricature of it. It's just asking the question no one else will ask. And so I think if there's anything that we need to grow in is figuring out how we more, relationally, sure, but honestly and authentically ask the difficult questions. You know, you've been hanging around here a while, you've been prayed for, you've felt God, you've told me, you've seen this. What are you going to do about that? Like, that has ramifications, man. Are you going to actually chew on this? Or, hey, you've been dating Jesus long enough. Maybe it's time to think about walking down the aisle. Yeah. These types of conversations are something actually we're weaker in. Because we value the relational, because we value the naturally supernatural, we shy away from that. And so, if I'm going to be weak in something, I think those are the 2 I'd rather be weak in, because I've seen a lot of other movements that are weak in the first 3, and they hammer 4 and 5, and they lose credibility for the church and the culture. So at least I think we're moving forward, but I think we could hone our game for steps 4 and 5. In my experience, and I'm sure there are loads of exceptions to what I'm saying to you, I think one of the classic approaches in our movement is servant evangelism, right? So one of the classic approaches is just go bless somebody. And we practice that in Canterbury Vineyard. We do that. We do something called No Strings Attached, where we go out and just love the city. And, unless you're asked specific questions, we tell them, don't get into it. Just love somebody. Just bring a smile to their face. We have little cards we give people that says, just to make you smile because we love Canterbury. I get it. I dig it. But what we need to understand is that's not the full spectrum of what it means to lead someone to Jesus. You're doing step 1, step 2 max at that point. And that's cool. Problem is we haven't asked the question. Are there other things? Are there transitions beyond this? Are there other things that we need to do to facilitate this